So let's go. I want to walk you through my production a little bit here, so you can see what I did. So let's start with the kick. The kick is pretty straightforward. It's a thumpy, fat kick, I would say. And I kind of found this kick in it's actually a Mark Knight sample pack. And I've been using a couple of different kicks and decided to go with this one. Did a little bit of processing on it, just some saturation and compression to make it sound the way I want it. That's it. There's nothing more about it. Yeah, let's move on to the bass. The bass is also just very simple. I think I recorded it on the Moog. I have a Sub 37 over here, and I recorded it on my Moog. And what I did is just a little bit of. Oh no, there's nothing on here. What I did is a bit of saturation with the capitator. Then I did a low cut filter. It's a really cool trick I learned from D. Ramirez actually on the Creativity Unlocked course. And I added high cut, so it's just concentrating on the very lows that I wanted to make it really just a really nice and low bass. Yeah, and then on this bass group there's not much happening actually. It's just a little bit of EQing over here, a little bit more of EQing with the Better Maker EQ. That is really cool. You can check that out. And this is just a sidechain compressor. So with the kick together, it sounds like this. Nothing very special, and I think even this bass note is maybe just one note. What I mostly do is, you can't see it here because I deleted the MIDI track. I always do kind of pitch bends in my basses. So yeah, that's something you can always do to give it a little bit of movement. So let's move on to the drums. We have the drum group here, and this is all the automation on the drum group. We have clap. What I do with the clap, I usually layer it, and I did that with this clap too. So what I have here is one clap that is in the middle. It's from, I think it's a Native Instruments sample. I use them a lot. Native Instruments samples are always very raw, so you really need to think if it fits, and you need to do a little bit of processing on them. So this is one, the clap magnet is in the middle, and then I have these two that are actually the same ones, panned to the left and to the right. So, and together it makes a wide sound. Yeah, and to give it that wide sound, you need to, I didn't do it here. And to give it that wide sound, you need to detune them a little bit. So this one is a little bit detuned, and also have a little bit different filter settings on the one. So just to make a little bit of difference, and then you can get a wide sound from it. Yeah. So let's move on to the open hat. It sounds like this, and this is really, really simple. It's just one hat sample, pretty much in the middle, and then I have one on panned to the left, like hard pan to the left. It's a little bit different, but quite equal, this sample. And together, it sounds like a really wide hat. So that's very straightforward, to be honest. Nothing nothing special about this head. Yeah, and what I did, yeah, I think I needed a little bit of time to make it sound the way I wanted. Um, I've been using an EQ here. I took out a little bit of resonance on this. Use decapitator. I really use decapitator a lot for for all my sounds, to give it a fat sound and give it more perceived loudness too. There's a reverb going on here, and also what I really find super helpful is soothe too. So I used soothe here on this, especially on heads and stuff. They tend to sound very harsh when you layer them. It's getting even worse. So I took out some resonances here. Oh wow! It really hurts the ear when you take when you take it off. So that's something I pretty much do on all my hats and claps and stuff. So yeah, and this is just an EQ to take out a little bit of lows. As you can see, I've been playing around with it a little bit to get the settings that I wanted. For me, it's a lot of things are still just try and error. Sometimes it needs a little bit of patience to get to the point where you want your music to sound. So yeah, there's a closed head. I have a closed head in all my tracks, and I like to do a little bit of auto pan on it. So it's moving from the left to the right all the time. That gives it a nice place in the stereo image and doesn't mess up with the head that is more in the middle. Yeah, and also a tremolator that is pretty much doing a kind of a sidechain effect. Yeah, and that's it. Also decapitator on here. We have Pro Q to take out everything I didn't need in this sound. It's just, like very high. What else is there? We have a tambourine. And this is probably just from a sample pack, I guess. Yeah. What's about the tambourine? Also decapitator, tremolator is doing giving tremolator is giving it a little bit of movement. And then I have kickstart in here. I like to really use kickstart to dig a little hole for the kick. So the kick hits harder. I do it on a lot of drum tracks to make a little bit more space for the kick. So the kick has more energy and punches through the mix a little bit better. It's something I do in the end when I feel like, the kick needs to punch a little bit more. Instead of making the kick louder, I take the sound out from the other tracks. So I use more sidechain on the other tracks to make more space for the kick to really punch through and to be a kick. What's this? That's the clave. That's kind of a key part in my drums, I would say. I recorded it on the machine. So I use Native Instruments machine since years. And when I like to trigger rhythms in, I do it with machine. Yeah, but as I said, the Native Instruments samples, they really need to be processed a little bit. So what I did here is use Microshift. That's a Soundtoys plugin to make it like nice and wide. And also to give it a little bit of a delay feeling. So yeah, as you can hear, the micro shift is really giving it a lot of nice spice. Yeah, and a little bit of reverb on this. Um, I made this track in a time where I liked to use reverb on every single track, like a little bit of different reverb on every single track. Now I tend to use it more on the whole group, but yeah, I think it doesn't matter. In the end, it's just what you feel more comfortable about. Yeah. Also, decapitator, of course. We have an equalizer to take out the stuff I didn't want in the track. This resonance has been taken out. It was probably too harsh. And I'm, of course, using a kickstart again to make a little bit of space for the kick. And maybe give it a little bit more movement. So what's here? We have a low perk. That's something that makes a little bit of this vibe of percussive tech house. And it fills up like the lower part of the spectrum. As you can see, I have a filter going on here, and I took it quite low, and also added a lot of drive, so that gives it like a nice edgy sound. So yeah, it fills out the space. Yeah, we have kickstart going on here, and also a little bit of EQing. Nothing crazy. Then there's another perk loop, and as you can see, it's from a Mark Knight sample pack. They are great. I really use a lot of Mark Knight samples, to be honest. They're just really good, and they fit the kind of music I want to make, so that's always a go-to for me. Yeah, this is a little bit low. A little bit higher. But still, I've been cutting out a lot of the really high frequencies. And again, some drive always gives it spice. The drive is also a saturation thing. I would say it's when you switch the auto filter to MS2, it emulates the filter of the MS20, of the Korg MS20, and when you turn up the drive, it's like if you drive the filter of the MS2, so it gives it a little more character and also more perceived loudness in the end. Yeah, and then again, there's kickstart, there's some equalizing going on. Nothing exciting, just basic stuff here. Yeah, then I have a bongo group, which is also a key part of this track. It's actually 4 bongos, and what I did here, is I've been using different bongo and conga samples. This is actually not a bongo, it's a conga. And I've been playing around with it. So that's something I really like when I make the drums, and when I try to give it like a groove and a percussive vibe. I search for samples on Splice, for example. I would say those are all from Splice, probably. And then I just play around with it. I cut out something here, I cut out something there, and I move it around and try to give it like a nice flow. And once I get this flow, I go on with it, yeah. Yeah, I did the processing on the group. I don't know. I've been using, on this one, for example, I've been using Transient Designer. This is a nice transient designer I really like to use. It's by SPL. You can get it from Plugin Boutique. Not Plugin Boutique, from Plugin Alliance. They make great plugins. I really really like them, and they also look good. That's something also you don't want to always look at the like a bad graphic when you look on the computer all day long. So yeah, and I took out of some of the attack. Yeah, I think it was probably too much of the attack, so I wanted to make it a little bit softer. Like these percussive sounds, I like them to be a little bit softer in the groove. Yeah, on the others I didn't, just a little bit of high cut here, and then I did some group processing on this on all of these drums. Yeah, there's a cool plugin I really like to use. Yes, this is a 1176 compressor emulation by IK Multimedia. I think it's an Italian company, and they make really really cool plugins as well. Yeah, and they also make this 1176 emulation, which is like on a fast attack and release settings. So what it does, it evens it out a little bit more. It takes away all of the yeah very crazy transients and evens it out a little bit more. So it's more tamed a little bit. Yeah, it's not too crazy. As you can see, it's just like about 2 dB. And I wouldn't go further than minus 3 dB on this one, because when you go too crazy with this compressor, everything sounds really flat. So you need to be careful with compression. Yeah, that's a cool thing. I really like to use it. I've been testing this compressor against other 1176 compressors that are out there, like the Waves one, and I really need to say this is my favorite. So what else do we have here? There's a Decapitator, of course, which is not doing anything. It's just making it a little bit louder, and like there's almost no drive happening here, so it's funny that this is in here, because probably it doesn't even need to be there. Anyways, it's there, and it sounds good, and as long as it sounds good, it doesn't matter. But what I did is some high and low cut again here with the auto filter. This is something I do on all of my sounds, like on everything. I use auto filter on everything. I always put it to MS2 and always turn up the drive to give it the character and like a nice edgy sound. I have a I have an EQ here, like Pro Q. Yeah, it's taking out a little bit more of the lows. Kickstart again, and another EQ. Yeah, just to attenuate a little bit of this sound. Something I always try when I use an EQ, when I attenuate something, I always also try to take down something else, to see if maybe I don't have to go too far on the attenuation, but instead of that, taking something down can also be a good solution. But this is more kind of the mixing stuff that I do in the end to make everything fit together a little bit better. So yeah, just the basic EQing. And this is like, it's so much depending on the sounds you've been using and on the overall track in the end. So there's no general rule for EQing to me. It's just, you just need to use your ears. Then what else do we have here? We have a shaker. Nothing super exciting. On the shaker, there's also again a transient designer. This time it's taking out the sustain to really like give more presence to the transients and take away a little bit of the sustain, because it's messing up the sound. If you have too much stuff going on at the same time, then you want to maybe take away a little bit of the sounds in between the transients. So that's what I did here. What else? We have auto filter, of course. Another transient designer. As you can see, yeah, I just been using another transient designer, attenuating the attack a little bit more and taking a lot more of the sustain out. Yeah, I think you can really hear the difference in this one. Yeah, so I probably at this point I was thinking, I really need to get rid of a lot more sustain and attenuate the attack a little bit. So yeah, this is just the process things sometimes go. Another kickstart here, another equalizer there, not doing crazy stuff. And then there's another top loop. It's obviously another Mark Knight top loop. And it's not too loud in the whole track, because with these top loops you need to be really careful. If you are using, for example, a Mark Knight top loop, you don't want to make it super obvious. You want to keep it a little bit more in the background. So that's what I did with this one. I took out some of the lows. I took out some of the highs with this EQ, just like to give it a nice pocket here. And it can help to kind of fill out some gaps in the sonic, in the sonics of the drums. So maybe we can hear the drums together, like the whole drum group. And as you can see, this top loop is not super obvious. It's just in the background and it fills out a little gap that I thought was there. So yeah, and like this, it's all coming together. What else is here? We have a ride that is coming in a little bit later. I really like to use rides to top up on the energy sometimes, and it's nice to give a little progress to the track with this ride. This is a nice ride. I really like to use it on different tracks that I made. It's also a Native Instruments sample. I'm really sure that this is Native Instruments. And it's actually two rides, one pan to the left and one pan to the right. So if you're listening in stereo, you can really hear the ride is moving from the left to the right. So it's not like focused in the middle. Yeah, and then you need to make like two MIDI how do you say that? Yeah, it's like playing on the keyboard two different notes. This it's called drum rack. This one, really useful. I like to use it when I layer stuff, and it's just more useful than making different tracks. I don't know, it's just my workflow. What else is there? I have a shifter, something I always do, like everybody does it. I would say probably in my kind of style. Using a shifter to move the sound a little bit, so you can, in the end of the ride, when you have a a part in this track and the ride ends somewhere and it goes into the break, then the ride is like switching, like changing the note, and it's going lower and lower. You can do that with shifter. You need to switch it over to frequency mode and just automate this coarse button. It's not super heavy setting, like not super heavy, but it's enough to give it the movement you need. So the listener knows, yeah, now something is coming. It's really important to automate stuff, so it's not like a 8-bar loop continuing all over again, so the listener is not bored of your track. Especially nowadays, people get bored quickly, so you need to move your track, and stuff needs to change over and over again. So yeah, think about how you can make your track a little bit more interesting, how you can add more movement to it. Yeah, and also on this kickstart, of course, and EQing, just basic stuff. Then we have another top loop here that is adding something. Yeah, it's giving it a little bit more, yeah, it also fills out a little gap. It's super subtle. To be honest, it's almost not audible. It's super subtle, but still it's something that's coming in and that's moving something. Also, if you don't even realize something is happening, it still adds something. Yeah, with this one, yeah, we could discuss if it's really necessary or not. At some point I felt something needs to be added here, so yeah, I added this one just to fill out the sonics a little bit more with the ride. Yeah, nothing crazy happening here. I have a glue compressor that is giving it a little bit more movement, because this top loop, when I look at it, I recorded it in from the Machine, so I made this groove in Machine and I recorded it in, so I needed to give it a little bit more movement with this compressor. Yeah, and that's everything that's happening here. So yeah, as I said, it's not very audible. Maybe we could even get away without it. Yeah. I don't know if you can hear it. Me on these headphones, it's quite hard, I need to say, to hear. So yeah. Next, we're going to the stab, which is a key part of my track. Gives it a really, really cool vibe. That was my intention. I really love stabs. I really can get lost into sound design. And as you can see, there's like so much automation going on in this one. I won't get into detail too much on this. If you have a question, then just drop it in the comments and I will answer it. But yeah, how did I make this step? This step had actually a longer journey than it looks. As you can see, it's been recorded from a Nord lead. I had a Nord lead. I sold it a couple of months ago. But when I recorded it in, which was in January of last year, oh my god! So this track had a long journey, obviously. Yeah, so I recorded this in January of 2022 on my Nord lead, on an actual Nord lead keyboard that I had at home. So yeah, and had this sample recorded in. It's pretty much the same as this step that we have here. But I wanted to do a little trick with it in the automations, and so I needed to use it as a sample. So I put it into a simpler here. So how can you achieve this effect? That's something I really like to use. You can switch simpler to loop mode and then automate the length of the sample. So it's looping all over again and again, and that gives it this nice little effect. Yeah, it's together automated with the release here. So the release is increasing, the loop length is decreasing, and that's what gives this cool effect to it. Yeah, and sound design wise, I also added this little noise thing here. Just to attenuate the transient of this sound, so we can listen without it. It's just something that attenuates like the attack a little bit more. It's nothing very obvious, but always when I do these steps, I really think there's something that needs to be added. When you do it only with a synthesizer, which Nordlead it's actually a synthesizer, then there's always something where I think, okay, I need to add like something more. There needs to be something more in the sonics, and that's this noise at this point. Yeah, what else there? We have corpus. That's a really cool effect. When you use corpus, then you need to check that this tune here is in key with your track, and that gives it another element in the sonics. So at this stage, it's more in the lower parts. Yeah, nothing too obvious again. And we have crystallizer here. Yeah, it's actually used as a slap delay, and that gives it a nice feel. Again, it's to fatten up the sound a little bit more and to make it sound more interesting. With these steps, you need to think about how can I make it more interesting, like give it movement or something else, like something that sounds cool. Then I added phases. This is a cool phaser by Native Instruments again. It's not very obvious. Maybe I could turn it up a little bit. Yeah, and this is just to give it a little bit more movement in the sound. So they don't sound all the same. Like, you don't realize it, but they sound a little bit different, like a music instrument would sound. Like even analog synthesizers, they don't sound always exactly the same. Yeah, but with this synthesizer, with the Nordlead, it's actually it's a digital synthesizer, but it's modeled as like a analog thing. It's like a plugin, but but as a keyboard. Yeah. And in this case, I wanted to give it a little bit more movement. So that's what's happening here. Then I have an echo to add space. Echo. And it's really rhythmical. I try to find a cool rhythm with the echo. I have Pro R, which is a really, really cool reverb plugin. I find it really easy to use, and yeah, and it gives it this nice, reverb. That's giving it like the space and the wideness too. Yeah, then we have we have an EQ. Sorry, we have an EQ here, taking out some of the lows. We have Saturn here, doing multi-band saturation, so the higher parts are more saturated than the lower parts. Then we have an audio effect rack here. That's the automations. So I really like to do them in an effect rack and kind of switch them on and off. As you can maybe see here. Yeah, cause what's happening here? What's happening here is this little guy, this delay coming out, coming in more throughout one of these parts and then going back to 0 again. So that's also something that makes the sound develop a little bit. What else do we have here? We have an audio effect rack with this is just a dry signal coming through. We have pedal. Really cool for sound design if you use it on the fuzz mode. And we have overdrive here that just excites the high parts of the sound a little bit more. So that makes it really sound punchy and more angry, and yeah, gives it a lot of edge. All this saturation stuff gives just to make the sound loud and edgy and like in your face. Yeah. Then we have some high and low pass automation going on here, like the filters that are moving. We have Saturn, another saturation going on here, another multiband saturation. It's switched to warm tape and tube and tweed amp. So these are just different settings you can use on different bands in Saturn. Yeah, it gives it a little bit more character. Sometimes it's not the obvious stuff that makes the sound good. It's just small things that top up. So it, like every single part gives it a little bit more edge and it makes it a little bit more interesting. Then there's an EQ I like to use. As you can see, I really took out, I really attenuated the sound around 700 hertz. Yeah, why I did that? Probably because it sounded good. In this case, I would say I probably did it because it sounded good with everything together, because that's something you need to think about. Like when you listen on it to it on its own, it doesn't sound much better through this EQ, but when you hear it in context, so yeah, like this. With this EQ, I made a little bit of space for the for the higher parts of the track, like vocals and the ride and stuff. So that's something you need to think about, and in context, it just sounded better, probably. So that's why I did it. Yeah, and also it sounds a little bit harsh. So yeah, that's the step. And then there's a lot of automation going on, like with reverbs, delays, and stuff. You really, if you want to know more about this, then just let me know, and I can let you know how I automated all of this. Yeah, then we have the vocal here. The vocal is coming straight up from Splice. It's from a sample pack with spoken vocals, Spanish spoken vocals, but I never use them as they are. So what I did is, I didn't even pitch it here. What I did is. What I did with this main vocal is I sent it through a delay plugin here. Like I did an effect rack, sent it to the delay, and made one left and one right. And then I switched the times a little bit here. So. And then I used the little alto boy by Soundtoys on each of these channels to change the sound a little bit and give it like a wide, weird feeling. Yeah, this is something that's just came to my mind to do it like that. Makes it just more interesting, this whole track, and little alto boy is really cool. Really can recommend it to change vocals and manipulate vocals in some kind of way. Just a little bit of EQing on here. We have a compressor to just make it sound a little bit fatter. It just takes away a little bit of this, like of the louder parts, and makes it a little bit more at one level. How do you say it? Evens it out a little bit more. Yeah, then there's a reverb going on here, of course, and a delay. I really like the timeless delay. This is really cool to use, and you have a ducking option here that I would always recommend if you use it, especially with vocals or synthesizers. Use this ducking. So when the original sample kicks in, it takes down some of the delay. Yeah, then we have the decapitator here. We have crystallizer again. And is crystallizer doing anything? It's automated. Yeah, true. It's actually automated. What it does.
Comprendo.
Oh no, it's in here. Let me check where the automation is. Da-da-dum. It's here.
Ahora me veo.
That's something really cool you can do with Crystallizer. You can make the sample pitch down, and in the delay. So that's really giving it a really cool vibe. Just makes it more interesting and fills out the gaps in between the vocals, because I didn't have much to use here. So yeah, Crystallizer. Some more processing. Delay that has been automated. This is not doing anything here. Then again, we have 1176. That is evening it out a little bit more.
Que me da pistas de lo que soy.
We have another really cool plugin. This is an emulation of the LA2A. A very common compressor. It's really, really good. It's by IK Multimedia again, and to me it just sounds better than the Waves versions. So I really like to use it. And it gives it more color. It's also coloring. Like this one is coloring a lot, to be honest. But I like the color it gives.
Que me da pistas de lo que soy. Que me da pistas de lo que soy. Que me da pistas de lo que soy.
Yeah, it's maybe not too obvious, but still it's adding something, some warmness. And then we have a little bit of EQing going on.
Que me da pistas de lo que soy.
Yeah, here it's a dynamic EQ, something really cool you can do with ProQ, dynamic EQing. What else do we have here? We have these reverse samples. So these are basically resampled from our main box, just to so the sound doesn't come in from nowhere. It leads it to this one.
No sé ni cómo leer este mapa.
So what else is there? There's this blur thing. You can create stuff like this with spectral blur. It's in the Max for Live pack included, and yeah, it's just apart from the vocal that has been looped like this. Yeah, another vocal thing, another vocal effect here.
De lo que soy, 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 de lo que soy.
And again, in this I've been using shifter to shift it up a little bit. It's in the main break here, and the balance.
De lo que soy, 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 de lo.
The balance has been automated, so it's moving from the left to the right. Yeah, and then again, it's the same processing here. I just copied it. Ah, yeah, and there's a cool plugin. This is a infinite plugin.
De lo que soy, 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 de lo que soy.
Really useful if you are lazy on automations. It has this one knob that does everything for you. If you like, you can choose between different options, different transitions if you want to. And there's also a complex mode, and you can tweak them all and make own presets. It's really cool. I really like to use it. Yeah, check it out if you haven't yet. It's available at on the 2Room website, I believe. So yeah, and then we have this this little vocal thing. It's from, I just took something from a vocal I found somewhere and played around with it until it sounded like this. Added microshift, choral. That's another cool plugin by Native Instruments that I like to use. I added crystallizer here. And what else is going on? Reverb. We have timeless. This is the delay. Decapitator, infinite again for transition, for automations. Even more automations going on here. Delay, reverb in this rack. And then just like the mixing stuff. 1176. This is the LA2A compressor again. Some EQing, and this is. This is something with the step. So I've been sidechaining this vocal with the step sound, so they don't interfere with each other. I wanted to duck this sound underneath the step sound, so I can show you. So yeah, that's it. Here there's another reverse vocal thing going on here, and yeah, stuff like this is always super useful, and I really tend to use them everywhere. Then there's another vocal effect. This one. How did I make it like beep? It's just a looped sample. Like I resampled something and looped it. And I made it super wide with utility and like cranked up the width. And then I used autofilter, and with autofilter you can make kind of an LFO thing with autofilter. Oh no, it's not here. Where did I do it? It's here. It's this autofilter. Yeah, you can use it with this LFO here and make it like give it a fast rate, and then it makes the sound like wah, 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 like if somebody would really quick turn up and down the frequency. Yeah, then we have stereo flyby. This is a really cool effect by it's actually inside Ableton. And it's cool if you use it with the shifts one that I have here. Yeah, it's just to give it a little rising thing. It's not very upfront, but yeah, still it's there. Yeah, some side chaining, some basic stuff happening here. Another Vox effect. It's the same one, actually. It's the same one, just one octave up. So together they sound like this. Yeah, just to add something here and just to add more energy after the main drop that I have here. And then there's just a couple of effects, like a classic 909 clap thing going on here. something I always do in all of my tracks. I probably then some yeah, just really some basic effects here. Yeah, some kind of stuff like this, just to fill out the gaps that are here and there. Crashes here and there, like everywhere. We have a tonal riser here. We have a snare roll. We have more effects, white noises and stuff. Sometimes I do them on my own. You can also take them from sample packs. It doesn't matter. In the end, if it sounds good and if it fits your track, it's perfect. Yeah, and that's it. Arrangement wise, it's quite straightforward. I like to use these markers and think about the arrangement before I do it. Actually, I mostly work with the reference track, to be honest. I just search for a record that I like, and then I copy the arrangement, and then I move on and think about how can I make it fit my own track, and then I change it a little bit, and in the end, it's done. So yeah, and that's it. That's my track Kisoi. It's coming out on the 23rd of February on Kidball Records. Let me know if you have more questions. Just write it to the comments. Thanks for watching and see you soon.